Fucking crazy week today, man. Or this crazy week today. I'll be right. Crazy week this week. I'm
Y-
back from vacation.
Yeah, like I didn't expect a lot of shit to happen. But
I
here we
enjoyed my
are.
vacation.
That's good, man. You went to what, Niagara Falls?
Yeah, Niagara Falls. Took the kids up there for the most part. First time I've been up there in years. No one else has been up there. So me, wife, 5 kids, we all went up there for the first time. This is gonna be my shameless marketing play. Anybody that loves beer, you have to get this beer. You gotta. It's ultra right, conservative dads, ultra right, woke, 100% woke free American beer. It tastes just like freedom. It's absolutely amazing. You can get it on conservative dad ultrarightbeer.com. Awesome. I love it. They're not paying us, by the way. Obviously, I wish they did because this is amazing. So,
Everybody knows a
but there's
marketing
shit we got to
director.
talk. Yeah, seriously. I'm gonna take a remote job for marketing for them.
I mean, you got all the blackout coffee stuff too.
That's it.
I,
Blackout's awesome. Be awake, not woke.
yeah,
Best
dude,
shirt.
fucking. I've been a Black Rifle guy for years. I've been thinking about switching, but
I got it. What do we get? What? Let's start. You want to start with the sales instead of the layoffs
yeah,
and
let's.
the
I'm ready.
and all that shit.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Did you see all the newest sales numbers that came out?
Uh,
Basically,
you sent me a little
up and downs across
something.
the board.
Yeah, and like
There's
it's
hardware
summer.
sales are down across the board,
That's
for which and a lot. I mean, Xbox is actually the biggest one, but actually no, Switch is down the biggest one. Quarter, fourth quarter, year over year. They always go, the year before quarter. So Switch sales are down 46% from last quarter, same year. PlayStation's down 30%, and Xbox is down like 41 or something like that. This is just about 40 some odd percent too, right around the Switch.
right.
But the crazy part is all the info that comes along with this. Now, remember when we were talking about the uh, now that they have Activision Blizzard and put Call of Duty on Game Pass, they don't have to charge for money um, as much because they have so many subs. They make a lot of their money from subs,
Yeah.
which is true. But they have now 500 million monthly active users on Xbox. Sony on PlayStation has 118 million. So more than four times. They have Xbox has more than four times the amount than Sony.
I wondered, do they do those numbers strictly off of Xbox consoles running or the Xbox
No,
app
it's
on
not. It's
PC?
not. It's Xbox. Well, PlayStation uses PC numbers too, so they both use PC
Okay.
numbers. But they both use PC numbers. But remember, it also counts mobile. Xbox count Microsoft numbers, counts Blizzard.net because they own Activision, so it counts everything.
Right. Well, once we're
But
counting BattleNet, you
the
just
thing is,
have
you think with 500 million, yeah, but there are a lot of people, exactly. But you
right.
would think with 500 million, you're going to make a shitload more money than PlayStation, and it's a total opposite. They have, I think it's something like four times more monthly active, 4.5 times more monthly active users than PlayStation does. But PlayStation made 46% more revenue than Xbox, which is the craziest thing because, and a lot of people like you see comment on X, oh, that doesn't make sense. It just goes to show you that people aren't buying games; they're just playing on Game Pass. Yes and no, because remember, you got to think about it. It includes everything. It includes Blizzards.net. It includes mobile, right? But the biggest part on Game Pass is this: you're counting monthly active users. All right, so you're telling me you have 500 million monthly active users total, but of that, only 150 million. Not that that's a small number, but it's low compared to 500. 150 million monthly active users on Xbox. But there's only about 35 to 38 million Game Pass subscribers. So what's with the other 115, 110 to 115 million uh, users? Where are they? Now think about it. I have like three consoles on my Xbox. I got me. I got my two sons.
Right.
Me, my son's account. My daughter uses her account. My other son has his account. So there's 3 units. If I have Game Pass and I'm signed in,
Right.
Because you know how like I could be signed in, but I'm not the active one at the time. I'm not the active gamer tag on there. I'm always signed in. So as long as I'm signed in, my other two sons that don't have Game Pass can still play the Game Pass games that I have, even though they don't have Game Pass because I'm signed in. They can't remote play under their name, which is no big deal. But as long as they're at the actual console, they can use that thing and they can use Game Pass games. So now you get players that are playing Game Pass games without having Game Pass on their tag because they're using mine. So you're getting so many more people playing the games that aren't spending money. So they're reaping the benefits literally for free, unless of course they buy something in the game with it. So that lowers a lot of the income. But that's really what I wanted to get into because if Xbox is losing this much money, I mean, we have a lot more numbers to get into, but Xbox is losing money compared to what they're making against Sony,
Mhm.
and they just had this huge Summer Games Fest in June. Now, obviously, we haven't seen the games from that, but if they can't reap the benefit of these games in order to sell consoles, what's what's their game going forward? Like, what's their point? And like I said, there's a lot more numbers to get into, but what do you think is going to happen if they can't reach their goal? Maybe they don't have a goal. Maybe they don't care. I don't know. I doubt it. But what do you think they're aiming at here as far as console sales? Because remember, they already announced new hardware that's being in development.
Right. And like honestly, if I remember right, a lot of their console sales this generation have been the Series S, which is like the more like the digital only like can't do 4K variant of the Xbox Series systems, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
perfect Game Pass box.
yeah. They didn't give a breakdown of which X versus S yet.
Right. I just know that that was it. Like I think during Christmas time or something like that. Yeah, the Series S was selling like fucking hotcakes.
Yeah,
But honestly, if I'm Microsoft, that's what I go for. You get subscribers. It's a consistent revenue versus you sell a system for undercutting everyone else. I mean, the Series S is much as a Switch. So if you're a parent, you go, okay, I get this. I get a monthly thing. My kids get access to all these games for nothing. I'm not wasting my money on games. It's better than a Switch, better than PlayStation, especially in that situation. Now you add Call of Duty into it. GTA 5 is on there regularly, stuff like that. Any parent that does their research, that's the deal. But I think that's their game. Ultimately, is let's beef up our subscribers. That should cover the money for our studios between that hardcore gamers that are still buying games, still buying hard copies to have them. You know, at least that's my opinion on it, and that's what makes sense to me. You know,
yeah. What I'm worried about though, as far as like they just posted the newest thing where you don't need a console. Like they're marketing it now where you don't need a console, which yeah, I get that you don't necessarily need a console, but to throw that out there as like your huge selling point isn't going to drive people to buy the new console that you're trying to make if you're marketing that you don't need a console. So I get it. That's for people that will never own a console. They don't necessarily need it. Maybe they want to play the game, but they're always moving or they're not necessarily around. I get it, but I mean, there's not that many people that I would imagine that do that. So it's kind of weird. But
right,
the one like what's killing me is the last 27 months, Xbox has seen a double-digit decline in console sales year over year. Starting at this time 2 years ago of 2022, quarter 4, they lost 11% from the year before. Then from quarter all 4 quarters of 23 and all 4 quarters of 24, in order, they've lost 10%, 13%, 30%, another 13%, 7, then they gained 3%, which is basically a wash, then lost 31 and lost 42. So the last 2 months of this year, just this year alone, they're down 7%, 31%, 42%, and their only gain is 3. So they have 9 straight quarters, 27 straight months of double digit sales loss. And your sales for Series S and X combined, remember
right.
that's two consoles, right? Even though it's the same generation, is still tracking 13% behind Xbox One from 11 years ago, 2013 launch. So outside of being almost outsold 3-1 by PS5, right? How does Xbox pivot? Are they going to pivot to where it's just going to be like a Netflix now? But Xbox is going to be Netflix basically, and you're not going to need a console. That would make it worse. I think they would lose so much more money because so many people that play on Game Pass have a console just to play. So if you get rid of the console, they're not going to keep it. They probably just won't play anymore. They'll think, hey, fuck it, I'll save my money.
Right.
And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what saves it. And the funny part, think about this: this Xbox has released more first-party games on PlayStation this year than they have on Xbox. They've released Grounded, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and Hi-Fi Rush, all which were first-party games on PlayStation 5, and they haven't released 4 first-party games on Xbox yet. How fucked up is that?
Right. The only thing they've released is like out of all those games we saw at Summer Games Fest was a delay. That's the closest we've seen to a release on any of those games.
That's it.
So
I mean, we know we're going to get some more info on, Avowed got delayed, but Indiana Jones and Starfield DLC on opening night at Gamescom. But still, like, it's not. And just think about it, the last quarter, right? They sold Nintendo sold 2.1 million Nintendo Switches.
right.
PS5, we don't have the number yet, but Xbox S and X again combined because that's how we don't know what the breakdown is, but Microsoft doesn't give it, but they always say both consoles. So Switch, 7 years into its or 8 years into its lifespan now, has sold 2.1 million units. Now it's down from last year; it was like 3.2 million last quarter. But I mean, Switch has been around for 7 years. They've sold as of right now over 100. The last report, 143 million units. There's not You're not going to see that exponential growth anymore because so many fucking people have it. So you're still right now, people that are buying it are kind of like some new kids or like replacement consoles that
Yeah.
they've broken, and now you're like, because some the people that are gonna have it have bought it in 7.5 years already.
Right.
But that's that's Nintendo. Everyone knows Nintendo is Nintendo, but Xbox, which is supposed to be bigger with their huge amount of monthly users, only sold between 5 and 800,000 consoles.
It makes you wonder. Like it
So
really
they sold at the high end a third less, at the low end a quarter of the sales that Nintendo did.
it just it makes me wonder like why Xbox used to run neck and neck with Sony. Like Xbox One had bad marketing at the beginning, but that should not have tanked them this fucking hard. Like at this point, like
Yeah,
what is going on?
I
I
mean, and it's not just Xbox. I hope everyone remembers that. I mean, Xbox has to be honest. The reason I'm talking most about Xbox is because X they've been the most news on Xbox, just because Xbox always gets the most negative press. So that's why I have the most news. Everyone loves Nintendo, so you barely get everything, and Sony is like protected. I mean, what I'll get into the layoffs with Bungie. We'll get into that more later, but PS5, what's crazy is PS5 right now is like 1.4 million units ahead tracking of where the PS4 is in the same amount of time. It's been out 44 months.
yeah,
So that's tracking ahead. But yet the Xbox Series S and X2 consoles are tracking 13% behind its previous ones. Like, how?
what makes
And
me
you're sitting that your content mark has never been stronger. Like, there's something going on here.
it's either their content's never been stronger, or I wonder this is me being silver lining going for a slightly long shot. I wonder if we could see how many more Steam accounts have been created. Because let's be honest, if PC sales have grown, probably a lot of people are just migrating from their Xbox to their PC because
But
same I use the same
true,
controller, everything.
true. But remember, PC and Xbox and Sony both count PC players in their base.
Right.
It's not just Xbox. So it's not
Well,
like they're getting an unfair advantage and they're still behind. Like, they both count.
that's not my point. What I'm wondering is because active users for Xbox are way up here where my camera can't see. PlayStation's down here.
Yeah,
But Xbox sales are down here, So I'm wondering if that gap is filled by PC users. Maybe people, because subscribing to Game Pass Ultimate just to cloud stream on your phone.
that's where the revenue comes in. Now think about it. Say you have, you know, the same family, right? That has, whatever. I have Game Pass on my account. I have PlayStation Plus on my PS5, both upstairs in my room right now. Hellblade 2 came out. I didn't buy it. I played it off Game Pass.
Right.
Now, if my son wants to play that, even though he's not on Game Pass, he could come and he could jump in and he could play it on his gamer tag, even though he doesn't have Game Pass, as long as I'm signed into mine. No problems. So now you have two people playing it at the cost of one sub.
Right.
You could have 5 different accounts on it if we had it. Play at it. My other son could play it. Now it's 3 people playing at the cost of one sub. So you're losing money there. On Xbox so a lot of their games that they release on for a day one on Game Pass, they make up a lot of them. You figure you make up some of the money on Game Pass, but you would need 4 or 5 subs to make up a sale of one game. Because, if 4 or 5 subs is gonna be about the price of a game if you add it all up,
Right.
right? Depending on, the price. Sometimes less depending on the price of the game. Just figure about 4 subs a game. Now on PlayStation, if if I wanna play a game, I buy a game full price. $70 on PlayStation, Spider-Man 2, I play it. Now my son wants to play it, he can play it too, but I still spent $70 on it.
Right.
So now even if you split that in half, we each spent 32. But if we wanna play a game on Game Pass, we spent 9. So there's that just a price. If you split that up, you're looking at 4 times the amount of money that's on one game.
I mean, I'll take it a step further if you want.
And now remember, and that's just one game, and obviously you extrapolate out to millions and millions and millions of users.
Right.
Obviously, it adds up, and that's where the problem comes in, to where Sony is able to leapfrog Xbox in revenue, even though they have so much less monthly users, and that's exactly where it comes from, right there.
I mean, you're also looking at things like controller sales, maybe because Xbox controllers are probably they're almost definitely more durable.
Yeah, but that's in a separate window than console sales.
Right.
Oh, you're talking about revenue?
Yeah, just revenue in general because all that
Oh,
stuff's going to the
okay,
same
all right,
place. You know,
okay,
because ultimately, like, even still, like, you go with I game share with my best friend,
hmm
so him and his family can use all my Game Pass games. But I guess it does work out because he also has Game Pass, so that way he can
right.
share. So that way, my son plays on my account, so I actually don't know if he has Game Pass anymore. Whatever. Yeah, but I'm guarantee you, there's people out there doing that exact same thing. They're game sharing and they're all playing on the same account. But as long as it's your home Xbox, you're good to go.
Yeah, and it's killing people well, not killing people. It's hurting the overall revenue breakdown, which
I
I don't get. I mean, not that I don't get it. I get why they're doing it, but the thing is, it seems like everyone, myself included, that even though it's the same concept, obviously it's video games. Each one of these companies does their thing completely different than the other. Xbox is obviously more focused on subs. PlayStation is more focused on hardware sales, and Nintendo's more focused on first party games. That's how they've always been.
right.
But if you try to say, oh well, something that bad that happens to Xbox, you could say, well, PS doesn't do that and Sony doesn't do that. And something bad happens to Nintendo, you could say Xbox, and you could always leapfrog it. Well, of course. Well, if everybody did everything the same, you what are you going to do? Are you going to have 3 Sonys, 3 Xboxes, or 3 PlayStations?
Right. Why
Because
would
it'd all be the same. Yeah, what's the whole point?
the console war dies
I
right
mean,
then and there?
just look at software sales. As far as overall revenue goes, consoles or hardware and software, right? Sony is number one in both hardware and software. They always have been between the three.
Right.
Xbox is number one in overall revenue. Or sorry, number two in overall revenue, but 3 in sales. and Switch is 2 in sales, but last in overall revenue because their stuff costs less than Xbox, and they don't sell enough to make up the difference.
Right.
But Sony's number 1 because their stuff is so high, and they beat Xbox like almost 3-1. Right now, I think Xbox has sold 23 million units, and PS5 is about 50 or 51 million,
Right.
just about doubled up. X and Series S and X was at launch in 21, a little bit after that, year after the launch in 21, was their biggest uh, sales yet. And
Yeah.
look, I didn't realize this today. Nintendo's obviously always going to have more first party games, but they have, um, like, just to preface that, when Stellar Blade first came out, they have how many 50 million console sales on PS5.
Right.
Okay. But of 50 million sales of consoles, it sold like 1.5 million units of games.
I mean, look at
So
Spider-Man.
only 2% of PS5 users bought the game. But how? Like, I don't get how that's possible. I mean, even Sony, oh, not Sony, Spider-Man sold like 12 million units. So only less than 25% of PS5 users bought Spider-Man.
I mean,
It's it.
I know what it is, and it's a nostalgia thing. My parents bought me a PlayStation as a kid. I've stuck with PlayStation ever since. You know, the same thing like Nintendo kids. I had a Nintendo as a kid. I've bought Nintendo ever since.
And Nintendo right now has. I want just take a guess. I won't even say the number. See if you can guess it. And for everybody listening too, see if you can guess it. I was gonna put this on X, but I didn't because I wanted to see if anybody got it. Out of all the first party games Nintendo has, how many current games, not ones that are currently for sale, like current games that are brand new, that are still being made right now, have sold over 1 million units? How many think?
For Switch.
Yeah, for Nintendo Switch first party game, current first party games, how many have sold over 1 million units?
Wait. So current, will we count Breath of the Wild in that?
Yes.
Ah, shit.
So basically, Switch first party games.
I'm gonna say the Zeldas. I know sold well over 1 million.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Odyssey. Um, maybe
I don't think you're gonna
Wonder.
come close, to be honest with you.
No, I'm thinking like 6 to 10.
No.
It's not even that high.
Well,
Fuck.
not even that high.
Oh, is it
You,
higher than
you,
that?
you're like 10% of the actual price of
Oh
the number.
shit.
There there are currently 69 games, first party Nintendo games, that have sold over 1 million units.
You know what?
And 21 of those have sold over 10 million units.
Yeah, because I know Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom sold like hotcakes.
The number one out of every Switch game, the best selling game was Mario Kart 8.
That's
Um,
fair.
then you got both Zeldas up there. You have Smash Brothers Ultimate are up there. You have actually number 2 is Animal Crossing's Horizon, right? And then you have the Zeldas and all the, I forget the order, but they're
Fuck,
all
I
up there.
forgot about Animal Crossing.
It, yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. The worst part
And
is that game
that
got me through COVID.
includes the funny part is that includes the Switch software sales dropping 41%
Yeah,
this quarter.
that doesn't even shock me. Honestly, Nintendo has equal parts like nostalgic stranglehold and still quality.
Because the thing is, they'll always have that because nostalgia is a part of it, but it's a smaller part. I think it's a lot smaller part than I think it is, only because older games are kind of in like this on the same street where Zelda, Mario, Donkey Kong, Kirby, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, or even like Bayonetta and Xenoblade, all those games, they're still in like the same type of genre where it's not like if like, oh, I can play God of War, but I'm not going to play, Mario Brothers, or I'm not going to play Madden or something that's a totally different game. They're all in the same area. So pretty much everyone that plays one will pretty much like the other. It's not like you're gonna hate Smash Brothers but love Mario Kart. Like that doesn't make any sense. It's the
Right.
same characters, right? Um, and they always stick with that, so they're always going to be that high. And the Switch. I don't think they'll do it, because right now they're at 143.42 ish million units. They want to break the PS2 record, which is like unofficially like estimated at 155. So they got about 12 million units to go. I don't know if they can get 12 million more units because, I mean, think about it. They sold 2 million this quarter, right? Even if they sell 2 million a quarter, that's another year and a half, right? Till they get that. I don't think this Switch is around a year and a half as the primary console. I think they'll have a new Nintendo console out from now and a year and a half from now,
Yeah,
which is going to cut down the Switch clearly.
I I genuinely agree. I agree with that in a huge way. Like, I still wonder what the hell the next Nintendo console is even gonna look like. Do you think that's a
Oh,
whole
that's
different?
another that's a show in itself, dude.
Yeah, because just like my biggest question is, do they stick with being a hybrid?
They'll do something. I mean, all their units. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why it's such a huge success. Why would they change it?
That's honestly why they. I mean, look what happened with the Wii and the Wii U. You know.
Well, I mean, the Wii U was different with the way they started this. The Switch, that was almost like that was like a pre-alpha version of the Switch,
Yeah.
and the Switch capitalized on everything.
Um.
If they add like basic app functionality, where I know YouTube is on there, but if they add like Netflix and shit to the Switch, that'll add sales skyrocketing.
Yeah, like they have Hulu on there and it runs pretty good. Same with and they have Hulu, Twitch, and Crunchyroll on there too.
Yeah, but
Which
Netflix, YouTube is, Netflix isn't. They've said they don't want it because they want it to be, which I get. They want it to be a game, but I don't know.
Netflix was on the Wii and
It's
the Wii U though. Whatever. I wanted to do
Yeah,
something.
but the Wii wasn't portable.
True. True.
The Wii U technically wasn't either. It just had that big ass laptop as a controller.
Yeah.
But the sales numbers are crazy. I mean, it it is all more doom and gloom for Xbox because of it's Xbox.
Right.
Let's be honest, they don't. Xbox always gets the shit out of the stick between the three of them, especially in marketing. Um, but everybody's different. I mean, Switch is down the highest amount, but they've sold how many more units? So you can't. They've career wise, they've sold 143. They've sold 7 times more units than a Series X. So what are you gonna do? Even if they went down 90%, big shit. They're still fucking so far ahead of Xbox. Xbox is never gonna touch the number.
Right. It's kind of the benefit of Nintendo releasing it mid-generation too, and it's been around. Some Nintendo fans go, "Well, like rip my head off of this," but it's been around long past its expiration date as far as the Switch goes.
Well, I mean, it's in its 7th year. Remember, Xbox One was out 7 years when the Series X released.
Right, but
It's right there. I mean, we're supposed to get more information about the new Switch like soon.
is it
I
supposed to be
doubt it's
released
going to
next
be
year?
Gamescom. Well, they haven't said anything yet. We're supposed to get not. We're supposed. It's supposed to have its own event. They said later before the summer fests. They said later this year. That was it. We don't know when though. But
Probably TGS time, somewhere in that ballpark.
it's all different. When you look at it like, oh, Xbox has so many more users. Yeah, but they make less money than
Yeah,
PlayStation. Oh, PlayStation makes so much more money. Okay, but they make so much more money because they have more consoles sold. So they're going to make more money because people they don't have as
it's
big as a subscription service that they have. So I mean, it's always a trade off. Each company does something different, but I'm never going to expect Xbox to compete console sales against PlayStation. It's
that's
never going to happen. Just like PlayStation will never have anywhere near the amount of um, PS Plus users that Game Pass has.
no.
It's just not going to happen.
I mean,
And
there was a
that's
meme
another
out
thing.
there.
Why aren't think about it. If Sony users are telling PlayStation users that, oh, you should be worried and Xbox is done and it's all this doom and gloom fucking bullshit, right? Why are you because oh, you have so many more users, but you make less money. Okay. Well then shouldn't we or Xbox users be telling PlayStation users that they should be worried, where you've sold so many more consoles, but you only like 2% of the people that own it buy each game, or you have so many more consoles, but you have half the amount of subs that we have. How's that work? You have double the consoles, but half the amount, so we have 4 times as many subs as you. How's that work? So why is it just okay? It can't go? It can't be both ways.
Yeah. I like the thing about PlayStation is, even for me, I'm a PlayStation fanboy, and I run through their exclusive or whatever game it is I'm playing on there, and that's it, because they release almost exclusively single player games, and I have no desire
I
to play
play.
fucking Concord.
Me too. I play them all. I played PlayStation exclusives, most Nintendo ones. I mean, I don't play Animal Crossing and shit, but I play the big ones. I play any Mario, Smash, Zelda, all like the big ones. And
Yeah,
Xbox, I play all of them too. It's
yeah, just
the but the layoffs and game development is the next thing I think we really should cover, because there's been so many emotional fucking knee jerk reactions on X. I can't stand it.
oh man,
If I could literally choke people through my phone screen on X, it'd be like therapy. It's people are so freaking dumb. It makes no sense. I mean, have you seen these people commenting
no,
about the layoffs?
no, I've been avoiding it because I Bungie got what they deserved. Like they made this bad.
It it's not all Bungie though. I mean, it is Sony, and that was like another thing I wanted. Like, all right, when Microsoft owned Bungie, it was Microsoft is killing Bungie,
Right.
and when Activision owned them, it was Activision is killing Bungie. Now that Sony owns them, it's like, it's all Bungie's fault. Like, what the fuck happened? How's that
So
work? Again, because Sony's completely fucking protected from everything.
so from what I read, granted, I did like 14 minutes of research on the subject, but essentially, Sony gave them $1 billion. Like, hey, keep your employees, retain them, let's do some good shit. And I guess Bungie turned around and they're like, we're gonna buy a bunch of our stocks back, and then they fired employees.
Well, I mean, some people did that. It wasn't as bad. Bungie got Sony stocks
Right.
when Sony bought Bungie for 3.2 billion, and I don't know, their Bungie employees got Sony stocks as part of this. Those that laid off don't get to keep the stocks because they got laid off. That was part of the thing, which it is what it is. I mean, it always sucks to see people lose their job, but I mean that's part of life. It sucks to see people die. I mean, you're not going to stop everyone from dying. You're not going
Right.
to stop everyone from losing their job. It just is what it is. But the knee jerk reaction is what it is. It's like, and you have to look at the core reason. And we've covered this before. We've talked about this, or we've not done it on other episodes. You have to think about the core reason of why these studios are failing. Right? The technology now is so expensive to make. That's why these, remember, like the older consoles, like the Xbox, the not the Series S, but the One S, they still
Yeah.
make it for an Xbox One, and PS4 they still make it for, because those chips are so much cheaper to get. It's so much easier to get those consoles than the new ones, that they make so much more money on those sales and software for those consoles than they do for software on the new consoles because of the chips. So once those prices goes down, that'll help, but it's still so much better now. But with the technology being so much more expensive, and this is where people get upset. People don't want to hear that. It's like partially their fault, or like their desires are what leads to businesses that make the decisions that cause their own downfall. Is but again, that's what's the name of our show? It's the fucking Logical Gamer Show. You have to look at all the points here. If you want, as a gamer, a show with a game with hundreds of hours of content, expansions or not, just hundreds of hours of content, all different kinds of things you can do, side quests, huge storylines, top notch graphics, top notch things. It's going to take multiple years, 3, 4 years easy to make this game. But that's not going to make like 10 times more people buy it. The same amount of people that would have bought the game are still going to buy it. It's not like same people. It's not like someone's going to buy Spider-Man that wouldn't have bought Spider-Man before because it took 3 years, not 6 months to make. But you're spending all that much more money on employees and benefits and everything for 3 years, and you're still making the same amount of money in revenue from the game. So your profit margin is cut so drastically that a lot of these companies can't survive. Look at Bungie. Bungie makes the content mainly for Sony. It's still on Xbox, Destiny, but it's mainly for PlayStation. When only 2% of your console users are buying games, right? And Destiny's basically free unless you buy the expansions. You're not going to make that fucking money back, and you're going to close down. So until you start to either want a shorter game with top-notch graphics, or like what Microsoft announced they're going to do with Blizzard, they're going to make like a smaller, like a studio to focus on smaller AA games of like existing IPs, like like Gears or Halo. I'm just making it up. I don't know if it's Gears or Halo, but existing first party Xbox and Activision games, but in like AA style games. Like Ubisoft used to make like Assassin's Creed China and Assassin's Creed Chronicles, like the smaller ones, maybe 2D games or the AA games instead of triple or quadruple A games. You can't have both. You can't have this game with hundreds of hours of content
Uh,
come out every year unless you have thousands of people working on it.
I'm gonna
But now, if you do that, remember, you're. I know I've been rambling, but if you do that, you you're adding so much cost over a small amount of time that a lot of companies don't have and can't absorb, and they're not going to be able to do that, and they won't sell enough copies to make that money back, and they have to layoffs, or they have to float so much money for so long over years of development, and then they don't get it back that they have to lay off, and that's part of the reason Bungie did, or Game Informer too recently this week, but that's a huge part of the reason. And until gamers start changing what they want and like this, I need everything right, I need everything and I need it yesterday mentality, it's only going to continue to happen.
So I'm gonna interject with that. Like, I agree with you about like 90% of games. Bungie fell into a deeper trap. So gamers want a game like Destiny. That's, I know they hate the term, but it's a fucking MMO. They make an MMO.
Basically, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So instead of adding content, they frequently cut it. Like they cut the Forsaken campaign, they cut planets out, they sunset weapons that you had to work to get. They hemorrhage users. Then they're like, "Oh, hey, we'll give you your weapons back. No worries." And a bunch of users are like, "Well, fuck it. We moved on to Division 2 or Warframe or your competitors." And then they try to bring them back with Final Shape, and nobody gave a shit. Like they kind of made their own bet
Yeah.
because like here's the problem with, it's not like Final Fantasy 14 or World of Warcraft where you have a bunch of dungeons, weekly event or a bunch of events every month, events keep people going, fates, all these crazy things you can do. It's here's 2 raids, here's like 5 dungeons, here's a new planet. It's cool, right? There's like 12 hours of content. We'll give you gun quests to fill in the rest that aren't on original content. It's just like run this raid 4 times. Good luck, guys. And that's what Destiny 2 has
Now,
been.
yeah, but think about it. 12 hours of I know you picked the number out. I'm not saying it's definite, but 12 hours of content isn't a small amount of content for a full game, depending on the game, or especially an expansion. The
Right.
final shape wasn't even 12 hours of content, and the final shape was like, I don't play Destiny. I watch my son play it because he's done like he's 19. He's done every expansion, he's done literally like everything you could possibly do in this game. And he's been like amped. Like he waited till like he played it like the second it came out at midnight. So I was kind of watching him play it to see, just so I knew what the story was about.
Yeah.
And it was such a success, but it still sold less than Lightfall, the expansion before.
Mm-hmm.
And Bungie couldn't keep up.
Oh,
Now, a lot of people were messing with Bungie. Um, I mean, Bungie is a different animal as far as like some circumstances, but the the main reason is the same for other studios, but Bungie had like extra, I think, additional, not like different main reasons, just additional reasons that other studios didn't have. Like They're trying to. Did you see they're trying to rip on Parsons, the CEO, about the cars he made,
No.
the cars he bought? Yeah. So again, people are stupid. They laid off 220 people. What a lot of people don't realize. I don't know if you knew. If I don't think I mentioned this to you outside of this, but all of them got around 3 months severance pay and medical benefits to pay for however long. I don't know if it's just through the month or through, but again, companies don't have to do that.
No,
They don't have to give you severance pay. They could go in, unless you're a union employee, which will be another thing we'll cover. You could walk into your job and you'd be like, "Look, Joe, sorry, man, we got to cut you out. You just turn back around and leave.
I've
We got to
been
cut
there.
you out." There's nothing you can do about
Yeah.
it. It sucks, but there's nothing you can do about it.
When I got laid
And
off, they gave me one word. I think it was like 1 week per year of service.
okay, now they didn't. That's nice, but they didn't have. It sucks,
Right. They didn't.
obviously,
Yeah,
that you get a little. But remember, they didn't have to do that.
no, that's why I didn't complain. I'm like, it'd be nice if I got a little more, but I got 4 weeks. I think it was like, yeah, I was there for 4 years. Now I'm on unemployment.
Yeah, and dude, a month's worth of pay is a lot. I mean, I guess depending on what job you, it's still a lot for that person
Right.
to get a month's worth of pay at once. Because that's what basically you're getting. If most people get paid every other week, so you're basically getting double your check. Okay, that's still. It sucks that you got laid off, but it's not. I don't want to get too much into the union shit, but I want to cover that later. Um, but the layoffs with Bungie was talking about the cars. The day like after, or that later that day, where they laid off 220 people, they found out that Parsons, the CEO, bought like it was something like 24 cars or something from like an auction site, like Lamborghinis and shit, like high end cars. Ever since the Sony merger, okay, and they found this out either that day or the day after, and people are all pissed, and it's like, oh, sorry, Bungie's having financial troubles. And it's like the meme. It's like Parsons, and he's in his Lamborghini, like, or he's in like some weird tank they photoshopped him in.
They
But
know
like, dude, first
people
of all,
don't use personal, like, they don't use business funds to do that stuff. That's personal
yes,
funds.
that's my fucking point.
Like,
Thank you. These people are so stupid. Like, this is the thing. Like, if I could choke someone through the X screen, I wish I could. Like, do you think he's stealing money? Like that'd be different. Yes, if
right,
he was stealing money and the company had to close because he bought $24 million Lamborghinis, then yes, we could have this conversation. But that's a different fucking conversation. He's the CEO. He's the most important person in the company. He should make the most amount of money. He deserves, if he wants to go use his money to buy a freaking nice car, go ahead. Just because your position in the company is not as valuable as the CEO's position doesn't mean you have the right to get pissed that he can go buy a car
right.
and you can't.
Like,
The CEO's is always going to be the most important job than the rank and file workers. They could replace the rank and file workers whenever they want. If you or and I are rank and file workers and you know what, fuck this job and we leave, we get another job, guess what? There's 50 more people lined up waiting to take our job. There's not two people that could take a CEO's position. How many people could line up and walk and take off the street could come in and take you and I's job right now that we do? Probably a bunch.
my job,
With yeah,
you have a pulse, right?
yeah,
Like,
exactly. I mean, try to take a CEO's job. Their job is always going to be the most valuable. They should always get paid the most money because they take the most risk.
right,
If a company closes, who loses more? You or the CEO of the company that's responsible not just for his family bills like you are your family bills, or the entire company and everything the company owes and all this shit outside of if there's a board of directors or not. Like, people don't realize this shit.
I think dude, I had an argument with somebody on
Pisses me
back when it was
off.
called Twitter. Like, you're talking 4 or 5 years ago. I had a whole thing of like, the CEO of Walmart takes no risk whatsoever. I'm like, you're a
Yeah.
fucking idiot, aren't you?
Stop. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, the worker does. I'm like, the worker just go on unemployment. The CEO doesn't get on. They're not going to pay half of a CEO's unemployment.
Yeah. And say, oh, well, the worker's job's important. No one's saying the worker's job's not important.
Right.
But the worker's job, like I was explaining this to my son before the show. He works at ShopRite, right? The 19-year-old. I go, Jay, you could walk in a ShopRite And they can be like, you know what, sorry, dude, something happened. We don't like the way you cut your hair today, so you're fired. Oh, there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. Can't do anything about it. You're not unionized. You're just regular employee, right to work employee, right? You're done. There's nothing you can do about it. But there's 20 more people there. I go, think about it. If the CEO of ShopRite came in and took your job, could he do it? He goes, yeah. I go, could you go do the CEO of ShopRite job? No. There you go. I go, it's not just a you personal thing. How many employees at ShopRite? Probably not a single fucking one of them can do the CEO's job. But the CEO could do every goddamn job there is in the place.
Right.
That's why they have like these stupid undercover boss shows and shit that shows you how important the CEO job is because he has to set all these things fucking together. Makes no sense to these people.
Speaking of which, every time I think of that show, I just think about that Kylo Ren skit SNL did, which might be the last SNL skit I laughed at.
Oh yeah, the undercover
When it was,
boss one. I saw that.
yeah, when it was Kylo Ren.
Yeah, but the Game Informer closing was crazy to me. That came out of nowhere, and that
That
was
hurt.
immediate too. They just shut down. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're done. I was like, that's crazy. One guy was actually, I mean, again, it sucks. It's just there's because they have so many employees. There's always going to be some crazy story behind how an employee found out. One guy was actually on like a flight on a business trip and he got it like he couldn't get it on the plane. Like he found out once he landed that like his job was done and some shit like that, which is crazy. Now, remember, I was surprised because remember GameStop owns Game Informer
Yeah. Oh, I
and a
know.
lot, yeah, a lot, yeah, oh, exactly, yeah, you freaking forgot. I'm
Yep.
telling you, right? But a lot of people don't realize that, and I remember like having, my GameStop card and my Game Informer card as a kid and having to go in the first or second of every month to pick up the Game Informer magazine. Um, Now they did switch a while because this all comes down to how we said with the changing in tendencies of how to make a game and these studios not making games. You have to change with the time. I mean, that's GameStop used to be all games.
Yeah.
Now they're obviously games, but there's like merchandise and T-shirts and Funkos and all kinds of other things, and they have events there and stuff. So they've switched because so many game sales have become so much more digital than they were in the past that they can't survive on
Right.
just games. So they've pivoted, they've adjusted with which is what you're supposed to do.
By the way, all that
And
stuff's a pain in the ass. I'm sorry to anyone who actually works at GameStop and is listening to this. Get out.
yeah, it's but
Like,
Game Informer switched. They went to digital magazines, but it's digital is good or a killer depending on the medium. And for like YouTube for videos, that's great because people would rather watch a 2-minute video on how to do something in a game than read an article and try to figure out in their head what the guy means and picture it in their head when they can just fucking see it. It's
right.
a lot easier. I get it. I'm the same way sometimes. Sometimes I like text walkthroughs because sometimes I'll watch a video and I'll be like, um, I can't find the one that starts where I need to start at, or okay, how do I even start this quest? I don't know where the guy is, and they'll start halfway through. So I'll read a whole walkthrough and be like, okay, and I'll just go step by step. I do both. But when they switched to all digital magazines, I think that was a killer for them because Game Informer did what they did. They were basically the last truly unbiased major gaming journalism site, I think, on number one. And number two, their magazine, the stuff they did was so like unique to them. It was like original content in a magazine. That's why people bought it. But when it switched to digital, at that point, people were like, you know what? I'm sticking with it because it's so unique and it's there. But if I'm going to go digital, I might as well watch a video or I might as well go to a website, not Game Informer. And I think that killed them. That had the reverse effect for them.
Uh,
I think GameStop should have kept the magazine and pivoted
so
something else store wise.
you actually could get the magazine. All throughout, you just had to pay extra for it. So people, nobody wants to pay $5 extra to get a magazine mailed to
Yeah,
their house.
right.
You know, because that started before I quit, and I still have friends that work there and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I was talking to them about it. I'm trying to think how to word like but Game Informer was like they stayed truly as unbiased as you can till the end. Like, I never listened to their podcast or anything, but every article I read by them, even at the end, they still had the best fucking list for like the most complete list of like of upcoming releases.
Yeah, that would update all the time because remember, if I don't know if you've ever noticed going to their site, every time you go to an article, it would at the top, like published by whoever, right underneath the author's name, it would always say last updated when,
Yep.
and it would that games would change every fucking day,
Yeah.
every day.
Dude, that's why they were the only one I went to. That it's gonna. I
Yeah,
have to find a new list that actually does that. And that's gonna fucking hurt.
the only site I know that really does it offhand is VG 24/7, but it doesn't up. It's hardly ever updated. It's not
Even if you go
nowhere
to like,
near as accurate.
even if you go to like GameSpot or whatever, it's just not the
Yeah,
same.
and not only that, but so many of their games would be like hyperlinked to go to articles or stores about it. Was like almost literally a one-stop shop for everything about it. You find the game, click on it, it would tell you everything about it.
Yeah. The more I think about that is the worst news of the week. Like,
Yeah, it was crazy.
yeah,
I was surprised. I was hit like just
yeah.
just out of nowhere. That was surprised.
Like I was in work and
But
I came out and you messaged me on Discord and I'm like, what the
yeah,
fuck?
yeah, it was out of control. The union things though, I really wanted to get it, and everyone's surprised because I'm a union employee, but not the, just as I just said, where like not every good pivot with the times is good. Like the pivot to like the magazine being digital for Game Informer, although you still could get the regular magazine, nobody wanted to go through the extra hoops where it kind of made them downfall. Not every company should be union employees. Now, certain people are cops, air traffic controllers, firemen. Those are union employees. Now, those people should be union employees because you can't strike as a cop. You can't strike as an air traffic controller. You get arrested. Can't strike as a fireman, right? Certain jobs you can't strike. So if that was the case and you weren't allowed to strike and you were never a union employee, that sorry Joe can't get a raise this year. Sorry Joe can't get a raise this year. Sorry Mike can't get a raise, and you never get a raise. So what do? Quit? Now you have no job. You can't go to another job because now you're starting over, and that job would have the same rules. And you can't strike because then you get fired because you're not allowed to strike. So certain jobs can, and you can't just have all cops quit or strike because it'd be total fucking anarchy. Can't have all firemen. Look what would happen. Air traffic controllers tried to strike once, and because the safety implications on that is insane. Reagan fucking fired them all when Reagan was president. That was the last time they did it. But you can't have. Look at these layoffs. If you hamstrung these game devs and game devs, not the game devs, excuse me, the studios with unions, the disaster that would follow would be unimaginable. You'd have games, you'd be tumbleweeds in the fucking game studios. Think about it. If Bungie was unionized right now and Bungie needed to lay off 220 people, and on top of that, take even more people out, I think it was like 100 some odd more, and spin them into a separate, smaller Sony owned studio. So
Sure.
they're no longer Bungie's. So it was over 300 people total, 220 lost and 100 some odd got done in order to like keep afloat. If they were unionized, you can't just fire someone that's in a union. Every union is different. Like me as a cop, you have to commit a crime or do something that violates, admin policy or, you know, teachers are different. Teachers union, but you can get fired, but there's a process you have to go through to do it. Air traffic controllers, you just strike, you get fired. There's everything you could do. If you forced Bungie to keep these employees, what do you think is going to happen? Yes, like I said, it sucks that people die. It sucks that people lose their jobs, but the studio is still there and is still able to make games and change to where they can possibly improve and hire some of those people back or hire different people if those people got new jobs. If they forced Bungie or any of these other studios to keep them, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, I'm sorry, Joe, that you can't afford to pay these people right now, but you can't lay them off. You have to keep paying all these people, Mr. Parsons, at Bungie, all 300 people. Okay, no problem. And then guess what? A month later, the studio fucking closes. Now, 200 people is 15% of the workforce, right? So that means they have about 1,500 people that work for them. So now 1,500 fucking people lose jobs, and the whole studio's closed, and there's lawsuits galore because, like, it makes no sense in the gaming industry. I don't. There's not a single fucking logical reason you could give me.
Honestly, a lot of people in game design because that was the career job. That was the job I wanted as a kid. Was aren't even paid employees; they're contractors. So
Yeah.
I know the alleged Destiny 3 project was canceled, but I know Marathon focus tested like fine milk,
Hmm.
and
And there was a new game on Destiny 2, the Project Payback. That's a new game that wasn't Destiny 3.
right,
That was supposed to be a third party game, not a first party, that let you use characters in the Destiny universe to go out and do shit like kind of like an actual MMO, but in third party, not first party. But that's not going anywhere either.
right, and like let's be honest, Sony probably had to take a hard look at the numbers because I'm not going to sit here and alleviate Sony of all wrongdoing because that would be stupid because Sony had to make the call and goes, hey, Final Shape did really good for a month. What happened? They're like, well, we're working on it. Where's our cash? Where's the money? We don't care where's the
Right.
money, you know?
Now remember, on just not on all studios, but just Bungie because it's the biggest one. Bungie's not an independent studio anymore. They're owned by Sony.
Right,
Sony has a $3.2 billion investment in Bungie. It's not $20 that they could be like, ah, whatever. It's not like a Bronx Tale. You got the guy out of your life for $20. You never got to see him again. It's $3.2 billion. So if Bungie fails, they have a clear like benefit in keeping Bungie not only afloat but prosperous. Because if it's just afloat, they don't want to lose money every month if it's just afloat. So yeah, it sucks that they had to lay off some people. But if all those other people are going to now be focused on Destiny content to be able to flourish because you have more money around to pay 220 less people, some are going to a Sony backed studio. It's going to be a new named studio. They haven't even said it's going to be a brand new studio that Sony owns under the Sony first party banner that's going to do like other shit, right? That's not Destiny related, other
right.
shit. Okay, that's cool. Sony, of course, is going to be like, okay. I mean, they're not going to say no, fuck you, because then they're shooting themselves in the foot. So Bungie's a different animal because it not only affects Bungie, it affects Sony. So it even goes and double the point. If Sony forced Bungie or allowed Bungie, I don't want to say allowed them because you can't stop someone from unionizing if they want to, but if Bungie was unionized and Sony, they wouldn't be able to let these people off. So now not only does Sony close or Bungie close, but Sony's on the hook now for all this shit. 3.2 billion just fucking gone. Right? Regardless of the reason of why they bought it or they bought it. So now they're out all this money. What do you think Sony's going to do? Sony, sorry, we just lost all this money. Bungie closed. Okay, guess what? Now we have to lay off some people from our other students. Now it's just a huge fucking snowball down the Avalanche Mountain. It makes no sense whatsoever to unionize in gaming. No sense. Outside of like, well, I want to keep my job safe. Well, you think you're keeping your job safe, but when the studio, because you can't get fired, but when the studio closes, you're going to lose your job anyway. So which one do you want? Do you want to
Right.
take a chance like everybody else in the fucking world that could lose your job? Or do you want to guarantee that your studio is going to go under unless you're like something $3 trillion company, Microsoft, that could absorb the hit and move on?
Well, let's be honest. If Bungie was unionized, you think Sony ever would have bought them? You
No,
think
I absolutely
we
no,
never would have got Final Shape?
no.
You
Oh,
know,
100% not.
right,
Nope. They would have been gone a long time because remember, this is the first, they have had two other periods of layoffs before this. This is the third round.
right.
They would have been gone before that.
It's not like you see Sony-owned studios pushing layoffs all the time. Same with Microsoft and Nintendo, but we're talking about Sony here specifically. You really don't see them laying
Yeah.
off that much.
No. So Xbox you hear more of because they own more studios.
Right.
So you're going to hear more, but you still haven't even heard that much. I mean, they load off some employees, but it wasn't, even if the number is higher than say 220. I think one round was like 5 or 600, but they have, what does Microsoft have? Don't they have something like 50,000 employees or something like 200,000 employees or something? Like it's
Something like
insane.
that.
It's nothing. It's literally like it's less than 1% of their employee company. Not to say that those people's jobs don't matter. Yeah, it sucks. They have families. I get it, but that's not the point. every job, every person in every job in history of fucking forever has some responsibility outside of themselves that they could lose if they lose their job. If you made every company unionize and guaranteed these people to take a job, to keep it, these companies to keep these jobs, they just close, and then everybody be out of a job. You can't force them to stay open. That's the only result that's happening.
Right. You're just delaying the
I,
inevitable and making things worse. It's just, yeah. For a lot of things, unionizing just isn't the right call. In the case of, like you said, because I just have a sour taste in my mouth about unions just because I have family in a union that's kind of fucking them. That's a different subject though.
yeah, but like I said, I mean, it all depends on the union.
Right.
Like if you want to, I'm not talking like electrical workers union or HVAC vac union or gamers union. Like unions in general are neither good nor bad,
Right.
but there's benefits and drawbacks to each one. Compared to private industry. I mean, for years, private industry salaries were so much higher. Wasn't even a fucking competition. So much higher than public sector jobs, not even close. But public sector jobs had the better, had job security and all these other things. Then when everything with the health insurance came up and everything was, um, oh well, you're going to make people pay health insurance and that's not fair. Well, wait a minute. We got health insurance because we got less salaries. That's where the money went. We negotiated that in union contracts, or just union people did. Non-union people had a lot higher salaries, but didn't get as much medical benefits for the most part. Obviously, there was always some exception, but that was always the trade-off. So if that's what you asked for, and you could have took lower salary.
Right.
I'm sure you could have negotiated on your own. You chose not to. That's on you. I'm sure we could have asked for less benefits and asked for higher salary. That's on us. But we're not complaining about it right now. So you can't ask for something, get it, and then complain you don't have the thing that the other guy got that you could have asked for. So the unions in general are the same, but for gaming, I can't see
No.
any logical fucking reason whatsoever
It
that this is a good idea.
it also just doesn't make sense because okay, I need let's go to a totally different case than Destiny where I need 600 people to work on Marvel Midnight Suns. Let's go.
Okay.
Game's done. It's over. I don't
Mhm.
need those people anymore. I don't know if I'm going to get a sequel. I don't know what's going on with it. You're all fired. You're all done. That's why they mostly work on contract because once the game's done, it's done. We don't.
Yeah, a lot of companies are like that. Some of those companies that are owned by, whatever studio you work for, a game studio, you're working on a game, that game's done. A lot of times they'll keep, 100 of those 600 people you mentioned on the game for, you know, support, bug support, technical support, some minor new content here and there, and that's fine. And the other 500 move on to new projects, or the rest of the people. I'm just using the numbers you gave, but the rest of the people move on to new projects. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they get laid off, like you said. But I don't get why in gaming it's so focused. I really don't. You don't hear about. I mean, I follow. I mean, I know this is a gamer show, obviously, so that's what we talk about. But we follow other news.
Right.
It's not like all we listen to is games. You don't hear about this in any other medium. You don't hear about it in the movie industry, in people that work at supermarkets, and people that work in the mechanic shop. You don't hear about it anywhere else. Only here. Why? Why is it just here? There's other popular
Because
markets.
my theory on that has always been like because gaming is, let's be honest, it's still such a new giant medium. Because like it was kind of big in the 70s. When we were growing up, it was still growing. Now it's big. Like it's at its peak. It's equal to movies and stuff like that. When we were kids, it was a kid's toy that you bought for little Timmy to play. You know,
But it's still like 40 years, dude.
right? You're
That's a
talking,
long time.
yeah. But now it's this giant mega thing. Even though most of that like mega stats, like a lot of that mega money, comes from like a handful of studios and a handful of games. Being completely candid, but that's the way people think, because movies. I just wonder if back in the 40s and 50s when unions started becoming like the really big thing, if movies went through this, because I never really looked into it, so maybe you have
I
an
don't know.
answer. I wonder if that was the case. If not, like, I don't understand, because you know people who work in movies complain about getting laid off all the time because once stunts and effects are over, I don't need stunts and effects. Once sound design and once I don't need these people
Yeah,
anymore. They all work on
those
contracts.
those people are unions most of the time. Like when you work the the lighting guys and all those people outside of obviously the actors and everything. Most of those in movies, most of those people are union employees.
Well, even
That makes sense. I could see movie businesses because there's so many different people involved in making. Just look at the credits of any movie.
right,
They're like fucking 15 minutes long of everybody that works on the country, that on a movie in every country. The guy that, the assistant to the assistant of the guy that picked up the person's dog shit. Like, is
yeah.
everybody's listed on there in a movie that those people almost have to be unions because if not, you almost couldn't function. Because what you do is, I would just say, Joe, I'm making a movie. I need 20 people to come help to build the stage. Now you have those people. You tell them where they work. They show up that day. I don't know who's coming until I get there until they show up. I can't possibly do that. There's thousands and thousands of people. I can't interview and hire thousands of people
No.
if I'm trying to make a movie. That's that is a benefit. That's alone just the amount of time. Otherwise, it'd be take 20
Well,
fucking years to make a movie.
I mean, look at all the credits that go into a game now. Like when we were kids, games were like, "Here's your credits." Now it's like, "Hold on, this is gonna go get some coffee or something. It's gonna be a minute." Like I recently just
Yeah,
finished Metal Gear Solid 1 versus Ghost of Tsushima, and holy shit!
the difference is the people that make those games are employees of the studio that makes the
Right,
games. In movies, the people that work on the movie are not employees of the studio. They're employees of the union that the studio hires.
right.
So those people are directly responsible for, like, they're literally funding their own jobs.
Also,
The
spinning
movie studios aren't.
spinning a little bit, just because I'm thinking about, because we're talking about union stuff. Did you see this shit about the voice actors guild for video games,
I did.
about
I
them
did.
striking?
Yeah, but not everything is
Not everything's on hold.
well, not everything. The first thing I thought of was like, great, GTA 6 is going to be delayed, but it's not.
Right.
Take Two was mentioned, but there was like exceptions carved out by the Screen Actors Guild. Um, so the whoever was working on that game is still going to work on GTA 6 plus whatever. I don't know what the other ones are. But I know there's some more plus whatever the other ones are. Um, but their main thing, which is also going to hurt, it's going to hurt. It hurts voice actors, but it's also going to hurt game devs too. Which I know we've covered this last time on the show, or I think it was like our first show, is AI.
Mhm.
They're using AI to just auto generate voices for game characters. Okay, now I get it. But the thing is, voice actors don't make that much. You see all these things, unless you're like Nolan North or Troy Baker, or Ashley Birch or something. You're not making that
Well,
much money.
even they don't make a ton of money. That's why they're in fucking everything. 'Cause they're super talented, so they
Yeah,
just
yeah. They make like several thousand a game, which I mean several thousand. But I mean when I say several thousand, it's like 5,000 6,000 a game.
right.
Some make more, obviously, but on average, that's it was like last year when I can't remember what game it was. The one voice actress um came out that she wasn't doing a game because she got she
Oh,
felt it was like an unfair thing or
are
whatever it
you
was. I
talking
can't remember.
about
And she was only
Helena?
offered like I think it was by Nintendo.
Yeah, it
I
was
think
the
she was only
Bayonetta
offered like
3.
5,000 by Nintendo. Yeah, it was Bayonetta. Yeah,
Yeah,
she was only offered like 5 or 6,000, and she was the voice actor for the first two games.
yeah.
Okay, that doesn't seem like a lot to me, but she was also guaranteed like a whole bunch of other stuff outside of the 5,000
Mhm.
that of course she didn't tell people about. And then when they found that out, she got like, lambasted as being a liar. And then she apologized. But most people on average don't make that much. So I can see why they're pissed. But AI is like, dude, that's coming. That's the hugest. Remember, no, we brought up AI when we were talking about the when IGN bought out all the outlets,
Right.
and they were going to be able to use AI to like just focus search results towards them. That's what we were talking about.
Right.
But for same thing for game dev studios. People are going to be able to use AI to like auto generate worlds. Ubisoft got caught doing it with Assassin's Creed Shadows, right?
Did they?
With all the bull. Yeah, remember because they were they said it was that whole authentic in air quotes, historical Japanese perspective, and they were using signs and Japanese pictures from like different dynasties from the period that the time period wasn't through, and they said it was like historically accurate and checked. So either a this person, this historian, was totally wrong, which they found out wasn't the case. So they found out that it was actually just AI coming up with it. That's going to be a huge thing too, because if people are going to be companies are going to be able to save money with AI, they're not going to hire people.
Right. You might as well.
And if you
Also,
force people to pay them more, guess what? They're just not going to hire you. Look at what
so
happened in California when they're making people pay $20 an hour. All right, they're just making everything fucking automated.
yeah, off to Texas we go. you
Yeah,
know,
fast food workers $20 an hour. Okay, guess what? Now you're going to sit in there at the little board and punch in your order, and the dude behind the thing is going to make it. That's it.
dude, I have that here, and I hate that
It's going to be the same thing with they had it in Canada when we were on vacation. It was awful. Um,
thing.
it's going to be the same thing with game dev studios.
All of them are like they're just all that's Taco Bell, McDonald's, Burger King, all of them have that shit here. It's
Same thing.
not luckily not in the drive-through yet. But I did look up the highest paid voice acting. So
What do
roughly,
we got?
so according to Google Gemini, so take it with a grain of salt. According to ZipRecruiter, the highest paid 2% of voice actors in August 2024 earned between $26,000 and $27,000 per hour. So you're talking that's
Per hour?
yeah, it's 2% of
Wow.
voice
Okay.
actors though.
Okay.
So I wonder if that's video games exclusively. It
That's
just says
obvious.
voice acting, so that might be
Yeah,
biased.
that's per hour recording in the booth. Okay, that's still a shitload of money.
Yeah,
But because they work probably dozens of hours on games. But what about other ones? 2%. Okay, what's the other 98%
so
making?
most of what I'm seeing here is like pay structure for video game voice actors often used on an hourly basis. Newcomers in the industry might expect to make anywhere from 100 to 250 per hour, which isn't terrible. But
No.
while union members may follow a per a day player minimum wage schedule ranging from approximately 450 to 2,000 per day. And that's not including royalties and bonuses and all that stuff.
Okay.
So it's
So
not
I mean, it depends. But remember, that needs to be steady work.
right.
It's not like, the normal everyday person going to work where outside of being laid off, which yeah, it happens. Most people don't know assume they're not going to get laid off going into their job every day from work, that work, whatever their shift is, 9 to 5, 11 to 7, whatever it is. You have a guarantee that you show up that for the most part, 99.9% of the times, you're going to have a job when you show up to your job.
Right.
You're not going to get fired. These people don't. So even they make so much more money. So even it's like, oh my God, they make $26,000 an hour. Okay, but they got to hope when the game sells that they have another one. Because if not, and they don't get a job for 4 or 5 months, they're not getting paid.
Right. That $26,000
You're
might
still
have to
getting
last
paid.
them till next year.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about it. And don't give me unions. Like it makes no sense.
Right.
What the workers are not the most important part of the company. I'm sorry to break this news to anybody. Like you hears it. Like you're not. You are an important part of the company. Yes, a company cannot function without workers, but guess what? If the workers leave, there's 10,000 workers for each one lined up behind you to take your job. If the CEO leaves, the company fails. If you, the janitor, leaves, they hire a new fucking janitor. If the cashier chopper leaves, they hire a new guy. It's the same thing at every fucking company.
Right.
This is why they get paid the most because they're the most important and they take the most risk.
Because
Outside of being a communist, and being like the workers should run the company and have like workers own shares in the company, which is horrible fucking idea. Like there's no reason you can give me that I think is going to be a logical reason.
no, not at all.
Not you personally, because I know we
Right.
both agree. I'm saying like you in general.
I just I just don't see unionizing game like I just don't see it as a good thing for game studios.
Someone in a comment, someone on X, on YouTube, when it's up on YouTube, let me know. I'll go on a an X meetup. I'll join a Google Meet live with you. You can post it wherever you want. Like, I'll debate anyone on this topic. I'd really like to know if you have an idea and you're dead set like unions are a benefit. Please break this down to me as is how this will work. I would really love to hear. Any of our listeners, please break it down.
Yeah, honestly, dude, like
Joe and I will come and show up.
especially when it goes to YouTube, like because Rumble's a pretty conservative outlet. So once we jump to YouTube, like that's when it's gonna show up. Like someone will be like, "I'll debate you,"
Yeah.
but
I don't know. Well, debate usually means like an exchange of ideas. This would really just be a blowout on our part.
I mean, if they let us talk, every
Yeah,
every time I
that's
talk to a
usually the
lib, they're
case.
just like like a
Yeah.
yappy dog.
You know what it is? It's like that that Family Guy episode with Kevin Bacon wasn't in Footloose
Yep.
with the donkey.
Every time.
It's like, nope, wrong. Look it up. I don't look wrong. Like it's the same shit. That made me laugh. Oh, it made me tear laughing. That was funny.
Like,
Uh, I don't know. But yeah,
yeah,
we got to get this on X. We got to come up with some more. Actually, I got a bunch of topics now. The next show, I think I want to focus on Outlaws and well, continuation of what we were talking about on Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows on next show, because there's a whole bunch of with the cancel culture shit that I got. I have a whole list on it from some people that I saw posted on X.
like
I posted a lot of stuff together on how people were canceled on these games about these games, wrongfully so, for like rightfully pointing out bullshit ideas and stuff that I think we need to start
I just
focusing on more for everybody since the games are coming out.
I just want to be excited about Assassin's Creed and Star Wars. Can they just let me be excited?
Star Wars, I'm gonna play Star Wars because the thing with Star Wars is it wasn't as much woke bullshit, um, outside of the look of the character, um, but the story and the whole premise. It actually, I mean, the graphics aren't mind blowing, but the story seems like it's gonna be okay. I don't
Yeah,
know the whole idea of it. I know Lando's in it. We saw him. I'm assuming Harrison Ford is gonna be
they'll
Han
probably
Solo to be some referenced at least in there if Lando's in it. Um, but I'm more excited for that than Assassin's Creed, and I've played every Assassin's Creed. I tried 100% every one. I mean, I'm sure it'd still be fun gameplay,
yeah.
but really is just so much bullshit around, like legitimate bullshit, not stupid complaining nonsense about this game that I might just wait for it to see how the news breaks from gamers,
Hon-
game reviews, not like user reviews before I jump in. I might just grab it on sale later on. I'm
Honestly,
gonna pick up Star Wars probably when it comes out.
yeah, I'm a pre-order Star Wars. I pre-ordered the.
Oh, I'm not pre-ordering it. No,
I
I refuse to.
I will because it's Star Wars and I'm a fucking chode. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna be like, dude, I pre-ordered back when like it was fucking Assassin's Creed got announced. I got the collector's edition, so I'm like, do I really give that up? Like
there's more people pre-ordering the $130 edition than the basic edition,
for Star Wars or
which Assassin's Creed.
really?
Yeah, it's crazy. The 110. There's more people buying the 110 than the $70 edition.
That's I mean that just makes sense
Yeah.
anymore because you
There's no
get
early access either.
like with the collector's edition, I get 3 days early access, but I'm also getting
I
like
don't. I don't think that's on the 110.
oh well, the one I'm buying is like a little more.
Oh no,
Well,
the 110. You know why? Because that's the you get the Job of the Hutt mission.
oh yeah, okay, you're talking about
That's not on the basic one. Yeah, I think that's why.
okay, yeah. I don't care if I get 3 days early access for Outlaws because it's Labor Day
Mhm.
weekend and I'm just gonna spend that whole weekend playing.
Yeah. And one thing we actually forgot to remind everybody, we are going to try to do a Gamescom live opening night show, just like we did with the Xbox Games Fest.
When
To
is
try to
Gamershow?
stream that live. It's the 20th is opening night, August.
August
I forget
20th.
the time Eastern. I forget our time zone, but it's the 20th. opening night. They're in Germany, so their times are all messed up. They're 6 hours ahead. Um, so I don't know because sometimes their shit starts at like 2 or 3 in the morning because it starts at here because it starts at 8 or 9 over there.
Wednesday the 21st. Let's see. Let's see if we got time. Reject cookies because fuck cookies.
We'll figure that out. Don't go crazy doing it. We'll put it on X. Let everybody know.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm just I got curiosity now. I don't know. Info.
But
Whatever. I'll figure it out later.
yeah, I say leave everybody with fuck the unions in gaming.
Yeah.
You're not as important as you think you are. And game sales aren't as doom and gloom as everyone thinks they are. I think each company has their own downfalls with their sales and their own benefits from the sales.
I'll
I
come in with
think
something a little positive. There's a little Big Planet 2 Final Fantasy VII remake. That's real adorable.
I saw that. That actually looks funny. I saw you sent that to me.
Right?
You got to send that out. We got to put
I'll throw it
put
up
that
on
link in our
X.
X.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it on a link in our X. In case you don't know, some guy literally created all of Final Fantasy VII in Little Big Planet 2, which is crazy.
Fucking
So
having his PS2 hooked up or PS3 hooked up
yep.
this long is crazy on itself.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna jump off. Make sure we'll get the link to everybody. This also will be up on YouTube shortly after it's up on
I
Rumble.
think it'll be
Probably
probably tomorrow. I think we have
yeah,
to leave it on
probably
Rumble
tomorrow. It'll
24
be up
hours.
there. Make sure you sub to our YouTube channel too, so you get the notification and hit that bell when it's up there. Otherwise, stay tuned on X, and we'll get the schedule of our next show and what we're going to be covering up there soon.
Sounds great, man. Let's get to
All
it.
right,
Let's get on schedule.
all right, later, everybody.
See you guys.